All right, so now we have the 2018 Saison Coastview Vineyard Syrah out of Monterey County. Single vineyard production here.
Thank you.
You are welcome. This is Mark's largest production he's ever made at a whopping 798 cases.
However, on the scheme of things, it sounds small, but for me, it's massive production. It's like, wow.
Everything you do has to have your stamp, and you have to have a really, really good understanding of, the quality level. So that fully makes all kinds of sense to me, Mark. Why don't you talk to me, because I know you're really excited about this 2018 vintage. You didn't plan on making this much wine, actually, for this particular bottling. However, it just happened to work out that way because I think you found what you were looking for.
Yeah, so, man,
that does, yeah.
Wine's showing well. So let me talk a little bit about Coastview. The majority of my winemaking training and understanding comes from Burgundy, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And so that's always been kind of, I guess, my wheelhouse. The two varietals I have the deepest understanding of. But as much as I love drinking Burgundy, I have a wicked passion for Syrah, and especially Northern Rhone Syrah. I always wanted to make a Syrah. I wanted to produce something in Santa Cruz or in Monterey, cooler regions. And it was really hard to find vineyards for a long time. And also it was really, it was interesting for me because, there was a big learning curve with Syrah, because I took some of the ethos and backbones of like some of my favorite producers. This is a big winemaking lesson I learned. And I try to produce wines like they do at Domaine Germain Côte-Rôtie. Now the difference is I'm in California, I'm not in Côte-Rôtie.
Right.
So those, I learned very quickly that applying the same steps that they do was not beneficial to the vineyard. I was trying to force it, as opposed to letting the vineyard show itself and express itself. And when I found Coastview, it was very easy to do that. This vineyard is really amazing. It's a really high elevation vineyard, 2,200, 2,400 feet.
Wow.
Kind of varies because it's on like rolling hills on top of the mountains, Gabilan Mountains, which is a really phenomenal area. And I believe they just got their AVA. I believe Gabilan, so they're now in AVA. But I mean, we're talking continuous cold breeze coming off the Monterey Bay that just hits this vineyard site on top of the mountain, where it's just all day sun and the temperatures are reduced down because of that wind. It's just constant dry airflow. It's beautiful. So 2018 was one of those, I guess, magical vintages. And the reason I say that, because the growing season, we had the right amount of rain, we had the right amount of sun, everything was perfect, and the vines just produced super happy, healthy fruit. And generally speaking, like in a vineyard site like this, we would go through and we would probably retain, if we had 8 clusters on the vine, we would probably retain 3 or 4 of them, because we're very, very selective in what we're picking, right? And
in the vineyard before harvest?
Correct. And we do mostly pick sorting. Like, we don't have sort tables. Like, we sort in the vineyard. And 2018 was one of those years where you go out there and there's eight clusters, and you're used to dropping half of them, and they're all perfect. You're just like, so we did our first run. We got everything that we thought was the best, even though the rest of it was just as good. And then we went back out and we're like, dude, we can't leave this fruit. It's just too good, So we did another tranche and brought more in. And then I ran out of barrels because I didn't have enough space. So I made rosé.
Call some friends?
I made rosé.
All right.
So I just used a tank, and we made a huge batch of rosé, which also turned out fantastic. And the rosé was interesting because we did kind of a slow press on it, so it's more of a tannic structural rosé, but 100% Syrah. So I mean you could taste the wine. This wine has structure, and,
for sure does.
And it's it's very. It's a bold wine. It still has low alcohol, it still has acidity, but there's structure to these grapes. So pressing rosé was fun. I never made rosé before, and it was literally like we pressed it, and it bled off some of the color just through the natural pressing process and those things, and then we just fermented it, and we had put it in a tank, and we forgot about it. We came back to it, and we're still drinking it to this day. It's because it's a rosé that can age because
has a structure.
It has a structure. It can age, yeah. But this wine for me, 2018, is this is also the first time we're releasing it. And in my opinion, the wine still needs a few years. I'm really excited to get it out to the guests of the wine club, and get a chance to experience this, because it's one of these wines that has so much impact right now. It's balanced, it has depth, it has the acidity, it has all the dark fruit, it has the meats you want, and it also has, the mulberries, the blackberries. It has all this fruit right there. It's not as high tone and aromatic as the Pinot, obviously, because it's Syrah, but it really showcases what Syrah could be.
I absolutely agree. There's a boldness to this wine. There's a richness to this wine, but there's not a density that I'm feeling. The wine does not feel by any means like it's just sitting flat. It has a nice kind of like slightly compact, floral, spicy tone that just has just this kind of beautiful direction, but also volume. I can see what you're talking about a couple years from now, as it gains a little bit more volume and gains a little bit more lift and sheds a little bit more of that kind of primary fruit profile. It's gonna have a little bit more of that kind of cracked pepper, that meaty kind of like smoky. I can see what this wine's gonna do by tasting it. I'm really excited for it. I think I'd be hard pressed to turn around and hold on to my bottle for 2 more years.
I'm having a lot of difficulty not opening these all the time.
Right,
and I'm waiting, because it's interesting for me, because we hold wines back for multiple years until we feel they're ready. We're constantly opening our vintages and tasting every few months, and just gauging and watching what direction the wine's going in. And when we start seeing it open up is when we try to release, and then and then those wines will arrive to our tasting room in Los Gatos. Or be offered to our clients in the restaurants and everything, but not until they're ready. But this wine is so enjoyable in its youth, and because of the fruit, because of the maceration we were able to get, we used a lot less new oak. I think out of the let me think, out of the 15 puncheons, because I use 500 liter barrels. Out of the 15, I think 2 were new. So really small. I mean, maybe like 15%, 12%, something like that. I only bought 2 new ones,
pure fruit on full display.
Yeah. And in this vintage, I had a little fun with it. I did a little experiment. So I used an Hermitage barrel and a Damy barrel, and to see them age separately in those things, and I mean, they both contributed very well to the blend. But for me, when it comes to Syrah, I'm not a new oak kind of person. I believe in more of the aging in barrel and the oxygen exposure over the impact of flavor from the barrel. I think Syrah has enough in it already. Doesn't need more stuff.
Spades.
It just needs time.
Yeah.
If done right, it just needs time. It doesn't need additions.
Mark, speaking wine with you is always a massive, massive pleasure. And to think that we both kind of started and our level of knowledge might have been here, and how we've kind of built it over the last couple of decades, and to kind of come around almost full circle and talk about these wines, it's an honor and a treat. It's exciting. No. The friendship continues, and we'll share some more wine.
And the wine drinking continues.
Yes. That's never going to stop.
Yes.
Never going to stop. Cheers.